Hello everyone, and welcome to Hidden Korea. Thank you so much for joining us today. Tonight, we bring you a heart-stopping story filled with joy, surprise, and overwhelming emotion. A story that has taken fans across the world by storm. Son Ye-jin confirms second pregnancy, Hyun-bin breaks down in happy tears. We're expecting again, Son Ye-jin drops the news that leaves Hyun-bin overwhelmed. What exactly happened behind the scenes? How did Hyun-bin react the moment he heard the news? And why has this announcement shaken the entire entertainment industry? Stay with us, because the truth behind this beautiful moment begins right now. Morning began like any other in Seoul, soft sun, quiet streets, and a calmness that seemed too perfect to be real. But inside the penthouse where Hyun-bin and Son Ye-jin lived, time had stopped. The entire world was about to shift. But only one person knew it, Ye-jin herself. She had been holding a secret, letting it grow quietly, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. And today, she had finally decided, it was time. She walked through the hallway slowly, fingers trembling ever so slightly around the small white envelope in her hand. Her heart pounded with a mix of excitement and fear. Outside the kitchen, she paused when she heard Hyun-bin humming softly, completely unaware that his life was about to be rewritten again. When she stepped inside, up with a warm smile, the kind of smile that made millions fall in love with him. "You're up early," he said, placing coffee on the counter. "Everything all right?" Instead of answering, she placed the envelope on the table between them. Hyun-bin looked down, confused, sensing something unusual in her eyes. He opened it slowly, and instantly froze. Inside was a photograph. A familiar shape. A tiny shadow floating in a blur of white. For a moment he didn't breathe. His fingers shook. His lips parted as if he were trying to speak. Sound came out. "Is this?" His voice cracked. "Is this real?" Ye-jin nodded, her eyes already welling with tears. "Yes. We're expecting again." The room fell silent, as if the entire universe bowed its head, granting them a moment of pure, raw truth. And then, as the weight of the words settled in, Hyun-bin's expression shattered into something indescribable: shock, joy, disbelief, love. He stumbled back, hand to his mouth, tears filling his eyes faster than he could hide. "You're pregnant," he whispered it like a prayer. She nodded again, and that was it. Hyun-bin broke. The man known for his composure, his strength, his calmness, now stood trembling, tears rolling down his cheeks. He crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled her into his arms, holding her with a fierce tenderness that made her breath catch. But behind the joy, there was something else lingering, a shadow neither of them had spoken about. Because the last few months had not been kind. Had swirled. False stories had spread. And Ye-jin had been under more pressure than anyone knew. She had hidden her symptoms, endured doctor visits alone, and fought through fear that the stress might affect the baby. He had wanted to tell him earlier, but the timing was never right. He had been filming, exhausted, pushing himself to the limit. She didn't want to burden him, yet her heart broke every time she carried the secret alone. Now, as Hyun-bin held her tightly, a sob escaped him, raw and unfiltered. "I should have been there," he whispered into her hair. "You went through this alone. I should have known." "No," she murmured, cupping his face. "You're here now. That's what matters." But the emotional storm inside him was far from over. He pulled back, eyes burning with intensity. "Who knows?" he asked. "Did anyone find out? Has anything leaked?" She hesitated, and that hesitation was enough. "What happened?" he demanded softly, fear creeping into his tone. Ye-jin lowered her gaze. "There were reporters, suspicious ones. They followed me twice. I think they sensed something was different." Bin's jaw tightened. Fear turned into protectiveness. Protectiveness into anger. Anger into resolve. First pregnancy had been manageable, rare photos, occasional rumors, but this time something felt different. Darker. More invasive. As if someone was waiting to expose them before they could share the news themselves. He stepped back, pacing his temples. "We need to prepare. We can't let them twist this. We can't let them use our child as a headline." She watched him, heart aching at how quickly joy could turn into worry. But she understood, this was the price of their fame. A burden they carried with no certainty, no escape. Then suddenly, Hyun-bin stopped. Eyes softened again, He walked toward her, up to his knees, and placed his hands gently over her stomach. "Hi," he whispered, voice trembling. "It's Dad. I promise. I'm going to protect you. Both of you. With everything I have." Tears streamed down Yijin's cheeks as she placed her hand over his. It was in that moment, quiet, fragile, beautiful, that they both understood this wasn't just news. This was a turning point. Vital. A miracle wrapped in fear. A blessing hidden from a world too hungry for intrusion. And it was only the beginning. The next 48 hours unfolded like a whirlwind. His outlet sensed something shifting but had no idea what. A sudden change in Hyunbin's schedule. Unexplained cancellations. Discreet doctor visits. Heightened security around the couple's residence. It was only a matter of time before someone connected the dots. Inside their home, however, everything was raw emotion and trembling hope. Hyunbin refused to leave Yijin's side. Shadowed her every move with a protective instinct that bordered on desperate. Every time she winced, he froze. Every time she sat down, he adjusted the pillows behind her back. And every night, when she thought he was asleep, she caught him touching her stomach gently. Whispering silent promises into the darkness. But trouble was already brewing. Third morning. Yijin's phone lit up with an anonymous message. "I know what you're hiding. I know why you've been at the hospital. Give me something exclusive, or I'll make it public." The world around her blurred. Hands turned cold. The fear she had swallowed for weeks surged back like a tidal wave. When she showed the message to Hyunbin, he didn't speak for a long moment. His silence was frightening, too calm, too still, until finally he whispered. "Threatening us again. Not again." The same pattern they faced during their first pregnancy. The same tactics. The same shadowy game. But this time, the stakes were higher. Was already a child sleeping upstairs. The thought of their family being dragged back into that circus made Hyunbin's chest tighten until he could barely breathe. "We're not doing this again," he said, voice firm, almost trembling with anger. "I'm not letting anyone turn our baby into a national headline." Jin tried to stay strong, but stress seeped into her expression like cracks forming in fragile porcelain. "If they leak it," she whispered. "What if they release everything before we're ready?" For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Hyunbin stood up suddenly, grabbed his phone, made a call that would change everything. "Prepare a statement," ordered his agency. "No. Not just a statement. Prepare a full announcement. Controlled. Clear. Powerful. We reveal it our way, not theirs." Decision rippled outward like an earthquake. Managers scrambled. PR teams reorganized schedules. Lawyers were put on standby. And security was doubled. Within hours, the inner circle understood. Bin and son Yijin were about to announce something monumental. But as the world unknowingly inched closer to hearing the truth, a terrifying moment snatched a breath from both their chests. While walking down the hallway, Yijin suddenly stopped. Her hand shot to her stomach. Exhaled sharply, bending forward. Hyunbin rushed to her in an instant, his heart collapsing. "Jin? What's wrong? Hey, look at me, what happened?" I'm fine," she whispered. Face was pale. Too pale. He swept her into his arms without another word, carrying her straight to the car. Hospital staff, alerted ahead of time, rushed to meet them at the entrance. The next 40 minutes were a blur of machines, wires, whispered conversations, and a doctor's increasingly serious expression. Doctor finally emerged. Hyunbin jumped to his feet. "What's happening? Tell me." The doctor hesitated. Hesitation no parent ever wants to see. "She needs rest," he said carefully. "Severe rest. Stress is affecting her body more than she realizes. Not continue like this." Then, more quietly, "Any more external pressure could be dangerous. Dangerous." Word echoed through Hyunbin's skull like a gunshot. He went into the hospital room and saw her sleeping, exhaustion softening her features. He sat beside her, brushing her hair from her face. The doctor's warning replaying again and again. Stress is dangerous. Rumors are dangerous. Dangerous. Silence is dangerous. Down, his forehead resting against her hand. "Isn't just a pregnancy," he whispered. "This is a war. And I won't lose." When she woke hours later, he helped her sit up. Expression gentler than she had ever seen. "Tomorrow, he said softly. Announce it tomorrow. No more fear. No more running. Her eyes widened. Are you sure? I'm sure, he said, voice steady. The world wants the truth so badly. We'll give it to them. On our terms. So, the decision was made. As dawn approached, Hyun-bin drafted the final words of the announcement himself, each sentence heavy, powerful, and filled with the emotion churning inside him. Yejin read it, tears slipping down her cheeks. Not from sadness but from relief. For the first time in months, would breathe freely. As the sun rose over Seoul that morning, the couple held hands tightly, bracing for the world's reaction. It was joy, shock, chaos, or celebration. They no longer cared. They had won the battle, they had reclaimed their story. And in the quiet warmth of that early sunrise, with her head resting against his shoulder and his hand resting protectively over her stomach, Yejin whispered the words that shattered him all over again. Family is growing, and I'm not afraid anymore. Hyun-bin kissed her forehead, eyes closing as emotion overwhelmed him. Protect you, he murmured. All three of you. The city awakened around him. And so did a new chapter of their lives, one built on courage, truth, and a love that refused to break. Evening settled over Seoul. A quiet sense of peace finally returned to the lives of Hyun-bin and son Yejin. The storm that had hovered above them for months had begun to dissolve. For the first time in a long time, they could breathe, slowly, deeply, freely. The decision to reveal the truth wasn't simply a public announcement, it was a declaration of strength. A refusal to let fear dictate the shape of their lives. A promise to protect the fragile miracle growing inside their home. The world reacted with shock, joy, disbelief, and overwhelming love. But none of it mattered more than the serenity that wrapped around. Only that night, the serenity of stepping into the future without lies, without threats, without shadows. Hyun-bin looked at Yejin with the same awe he felt the day he first held their child. She smiled through tired eyes, into him with a trust that needed no words. He was far from perfect, but it was theirs, raw, real, unshakable. And as they stood together, watching the city lights flicker like stars at their feet, they knew one truth with absolute certainty. Family was growing. Their love was stronger. Their story was just beginning. Thank you so much for joining us today on Hidden Korea. Your support, your time, and your curiosity mean the world to us. We promise to continue bringing you the most emotional, dramatic, and unforgettable stories from the heart of Korean entertainment. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Engagement helps us grow and motivates us to bring you even more compelling stories. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and stay with Hidden Korea.